Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers, new subscribers as well. Welcome to the channel and thank you for tuning in for another live stream. If you're new to this channel, we have live streams on a regular basis alongside videos. If you're one of those people who prefer shorter videos, you can go ahead to my video tab. If you prefer more in-depth talk, analysis, and more participation from the community, then you've come to the right place. This place is for you. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And again, welcome. I posted a video earlier on about all of this nonsense talk about the day after Gaza and the people feeling like they're entitled to talk about the day after Gaza. And we had the name of Muhammad Dahlan popping up. So you can go ahead and watch that video after this live stream. But in this live stream, I wanted to particularly tell you about the speech of the leader of Ansarullah, Abdul-Malik Al-Houthi. Abdul-Malik Al-Houthi had a speech, and I wanted to give you a couple of updates from Gaza and Lebanon as well. I'm going to start off with Abdul-Malik Al-Houthi. You see, many people had this idea that after Israel carried out its attack in Al-Hudaydah, that Ansarullah had the response. They had the response on the Eilat port, alongside a couple of other areas down south, with these ballistic missiles. But clearly that wasn't the case. So according to what we're hearing now, the response is still not there. So what was that? Was that like a poke? Let's try and establish an understanding. I'll share this with you first, and then we'll go through Lebanon and Gaza. Lebanon and Gaza. And then I'll obviously open the space up for all of your participation. The leader of Ansarullah said, Abdul-Malik Al-Houthi, Abdul-Malik Badr al-Din Al-Houthi, confirmed that responding to the Israeli aggression on Hudaydah is inevitable, noting that support operations are continuing in the fifth phase. He explained in his speech today on Thursday that Yemen will not hesitate to support the oppressed Palestinian people against the Israeli enemy until it stops the genocide in Gaza and ends the siege. Stops the aggression, genocide, and ends the siege. He pointed out that the solidarity with Yemen after the Israeli aggression was great, as the country received support from Iran, Hezbollah, and the resistance factions. In Palestine, Iraq, and Syria. He also expressed his appreciation for the official and popular solidarity from some Arab and Islamic regimes, stressing that there is great satisfaction within Palestine with the Haifa operation. He's right about that. You have people in Gaza, they listen to Abdul-Malik Al-Houthi speeches and they respect him immensely for the position of Ansarullah when it comes to Gaza and siding with the Palestinian people and taking action against the criminal genocidal entity. Speaking about the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Al-Houthi described him as one of the most heinous criminals of modern times. One of the most heinous criminals of modern times. Beautiful. Noting that the US Congress celebration of him reflects the level of the joint American role in genocide. Mr. Al-Houthi criticized Netanyahu's speech, which he considered to be full of lies, explaining that Netanyahu denied the killing of civilians despite the clear scenes in the Gaza Strip. He considered that talking about the Abraham Alliance or Accords means demanding that the Arabs cooperate with the enemy against Palestine and against themselves. He stressed that the military operations will continue in the seas and deep into Palestine, noting that attacks on Yemen will not stop us from escalating. He pointed out that the popular movement is continuing in various Arab and Western countries with demonstrations in support of the Haifa operation. Mr. Al-Houthi stressed that the Israeli aggression on Hodeidah will not achieve deterrence to prevent operations supporting Gaza, and this is what the Zionists acknowledge, explaining that the enemy acknowledges that Yemen is manufacturing advanced weapons to strike Israel, and they acknowledge the impact of the operation on their economic situation and the decline of the stock market, noting that the enemy's media acknowledges that the war in Gaza is the main driver of the support fronts to support the Palestinian people. And it is good that the enemy's view of the Yemeni people and their forces is that they are an extremely dangerous enemy equipped with modern weapons, according to him, quoting what the Israelis are saying about Yemen. And this indicates the effectiveness of what we are doing, he said. The enemy admitted that it was targeted with more than 200 missiles and drones from Yemen. And the Zionists, 200, a bit more. Israel acknowledged that 200, more than 200. And the Zionists are worried about that, and we want them to be very worried, just as we want the Zionists to be extremely worried and never sleep and never enjoy stability because they are criminal and unjust occupiers. Al-Houthi confirmed that the Americans failed to prevent the operations in the Red Sea, and this was confirmed by the Supreme Commander of American forces in the Middle East in a secret message to the Secretary of War, while a researcher at an American institute stated that Operation Guardian of Prosperity, ended in a humiliating failure. It ended in a humiliating failure. We saw evidence of that with the USS Eisenhower withdrawing. He continued, the Israeli media expressed its concern about the upcoming threats and urged the necessity of not ignoring the Houthis' manpower and their military training, adding, "We want the role of our people and armed forces to remain at this level of influence, effectiveness, and large presence to support the Palestinian people." He stated that the Haifa operation and its consequences occupied a great place in Israel. In the Israeli media, American and British media, and the success of Yemen in launching the explosive drone to the center of Tel Aviv was considered by the enemy's media as a resounding failure of their air defense system and the end of the era of clean skies, adding that the Zionists know from experience and determination and steadfastness of the Yemeni army, so they consider it strange to them. It's a strange enemy to whom the usual rules of deterrence do not apply. Mr. Houthi stressed that Iran supports and backs the Arabs because of the Israeli enemy occupying Palestine, Arab Islamic countries, and targeted Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. He added, the Zionist genocide crimes in Gaza over the course of 10 months are killing the Palestinian or Iranian people. Even if the crimes were against the Iranian people, it is the duty of Muslims to stand with Iran because it's an Islamic country, not with the Israeli enemy. Al-Said, Mr. Al-Houthi explained that talking about the Abraham Alliance means asking Arabs to cooperate with the enemy against Palestine, against themselves, and against Muslims, which is ridiculous talk, stressing that talking about the alliance in harmony with some Arabs who carry the banner of normalization and support the horrific crimes against the Palestinian people, and the Israelis celebrate the slogan "Death to Arabs," and in their culture and beliefs, the Arabs are just animals. He continued by saying the barbaric aggression on Gaza and the genocide are enough to present and impose a clear and glaring truth about who is the enemy of this nation. He stressed that the free people of the nation created a new equation and opened the fronts of escalating support for Gaza, explaining that the popular movement of all the free people in all fields continues on the media front in boycotting American and Israeli goods as the demonstrations continue in Morocco, Jordan, many countries, and many Western countries where demonstrations continued this week. He added, Hezbollah published new recordings showing the Hudhud's planes reconnaissance over Ramat David base in all its details, and the Israeli enemy was unable to protect the airspace of a military airbase, which shows its great inability and weakness. He was quoting Hezbollah a lot, saying a lot about their actions against Israel and how effective they are. He explained that in the fifth phase, the American Air Force carried out raids in Hudaydah, Hajj Ta'iz, and Sa'da, in addition to the Israeli aggression. He added, the Yemeni people will continue their support for Palestine, and tomorrow will witness a million-strong march expressing their support for the military operations against the Israeli enemy. In reference to the protests every Friday in Yemen, every single Friday, millions of people are in the streets. This is something very important, because the actions of Ansarullah are a representation of the Yemeni people's will. And we stated many times, these people, if anyone wants to learn democracy, go and learn it from Yemen. Millions of people in the street, the people who represent them go and listen and take action. Unlike many countries where you see so much demonstration, so many demonstrations, so much activity, so much protesting and activism, and what their countries do is try and silence them and demonize them, like what they're doing now in the US, even with the visit of the genocidal psychopath Benjamin Netanyahu. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the resistance. Israel yesterday was saying, we went to Khan Yunis. We went to Khan Yunis and we are having successes. What are the successes? Mr. or Mrs. Israel, or whatever you want to call it. We occupied the northern part and another part of Khan Yunis. No, not describing any accomplishments against anyone. They're still brutalizing the people, poor prisoners coming out. I don't know what they do to them. It's not like they torture them or something. These people come out from prisons, firstly losing tens of kilos, at least 30 to 40 kilos, beaten, wounds, open cut wounds and blood on their faces, and they're in a different mental state. It's like they've gone mad, as if they were banned from sleeping or given certain drugs, or they come out not normal. But thankfully, after a while, they start to recover. Like I posted an image the other day on my community tab of one of those prisoners who was released. He was kidnapped from his home. He has children, and he was simply going about his daily life in Gaza, but they kidnapped him in front of his children brutally, and he disappeared for 9 months. He had nothing to do with anything. He was just a normal man living. He used to exercise, and he was a bodybuilder and stuff. He came back losing 40 kilos, and he was like this and cut up and unbelievable stuff. But ever since then, it looks like they recover after a while, which is good, unless they gave them something that has has after effects that last for a very long time. However, we saw more actions from the Palestinian resistance, targeting several Israeli Merkavas and vehicles in Khan Yunis over the ground. In many cases, planting them in broad daylight. What can you call that? What can you call it? Where is Israel? Where is the success? Where is everyone is hiding? None of that. On the Lebanese front, we had a continuation as well from Hezbollah. We had a continuation from Hezbollah attacking the regular bases, the normal daily attacks, now they call them normal daily attacks, on multiple places in the northern part of Israel, multiple bases, multiple settlements as well. And they attacked them with drones and missiles. And they also used anti-aircraft. They used anti-aircraft missiles on Israeli fighter jets and planes on the southern part of Lebanon that forced the fighter jets to withdraw. This is not the first time that this happens. They took down 3 Hermes 900, which is the most expensive and largest Israeli UAV, and they didn't specify the weapons that they used. And with regards to the fighter jets, they forced several of them. This is yet another time that they force the fighter jets to go back to Israel. So whereas in Gaza, one of their biggest vulnerabilities is the lack of proper air defense systems, in Lebanon, there is something. There's something that's more effective. Well, not effective to a level that will deter Israel from doing anything, of course not, but at least you can have some sort of deterrence and pose a threat. And again, if you take down these sophisticated UAVs that fly on a very high altitude, and you force these fighter jets to go back, that's something. That's something. You can prevent a massacre, or 2 or 3 or 10, by doing that. And this is what I wanted to share with you in this live stream. Like I said, I posted another video earlier on, so you can go ahead and watch it after this live stream. I might have another video after this live stream as well. And welcome everyone again to another live stream. Let's open the space up for all of you. Thank you so much for Ray Husseini for your super. Much appreciated, my friend. Let's go to the live chat. Saying Salam Mahmoud, hope you are well. Thank you, hope you are too. Salam. Have you heard about Russia trying to form a NATO-style alliance in the Middle East with Arab nations? I haven't heard of a NATO-style alliance, but there is evidence of alliances forming. Firstly, simultaneously with the NATO drill, the biggest in decades in Northern Europe, you had drills in the Arab Sea, or in the Indian Ocean it was, with Iran, Russia, China, and India was an observer alongside a couple of other countries. That indicates that there's some sort of an alliance. Arab nations, Syria, because they're present in Syria. However, I would not expect other Arab states to participate in Russia in an alliance. No, not exactly, next to the Gulf, really. You might look at a country like Algeria. They had previous very good ties with Libya previously. But yeah, Russia and Algeria have very good ties. But other nations, I think they would struggle to form a proper NATO-style alliance with Russia. But we have alliances, and they are not only restricted to Arab nations. They are not only restricted to Arab nations. Clone 994, what it means Hamas and Fatah joining. Well, we just had a declaration of an understanding, from Beijing. Well, they had a meeting, and we spoke about it in detail yesterday. You can watch my live stream with regards to all of the details. However, what I can tell you is, firstly, it's a deal that has been signed. Many deals have been signed previously with countries that have more leverage on the Palestinians, and we did not see it being implemented. So when it came to timeframes, when it came to enforcement, when it comes to follow up, we didn't have a lot of actions. We heard reports that the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, and that was from Mustafa al-Barghouthi, I think, who is the head of the National Palestine Initiative, who said that the Palestinian president ordered for people to start taking the relevant procedures and moves to have this being implemented. But we'll see about that. We'll see about that. How much do we trust the talks that the Palestinian president will do these things? I'm not sure. The man, he has a lot of ties with Israel. If he does, why not? Good. If we see some sort of improvement, then good. Apparently, there were talks about an understanding when it comes to the resistance, which is something good. Previously, at least when Russia had the attempt, there was an outright refusal from the Palestinian Authority, headed by Mahmoud Abbas, to have any sort of understanding when it comes to resisting Israel, but also only follow the diplomatic route of asking, of begging, If this works now, great. However, we'll see. We still need to see actions. We need to see time frames, right? What's the time frame? When? By when? We heard a lot about this talk from several months back. We haven't seen anything. But let's see. Let's see if that works. Ari Magoo, interesting. Ari Magoo saying, Mahmoud, Syria's meeting with Russian leaders. Any news on your side on this? Yeah. So, Russia, obviously, they're very heavily involved in Syria. And they have bases there. They, as a matter of fact, saved the Syrian government when they participated before the US and NATO take the whole country down. Because the United States and NATO, they like collapsing countries altogether, dismantling the state at a state level, dismantling the army in every aspect of the country, like what they did in Iraq. And obviously in many other countries. Russia went there. Russia has very good ties, not only with Syria, but with Turkey as well. They had their ups and downs with them. They had previous feuds with them. They have disagreements with them in Syria. And Syria has disagreements with Turkey. And the reason I'm mentioning Turkey is because Syria and Turkey declared that they are going to reestablish the ties between them. They're trying to get an understanding about the situation when it comes to Turkey's involvement in Syria, the movements in Syria that are hostile to Turkey, what's going to happen there. And there's a potential talk about a meeting between Bashar al-Assad and Recep Tayyip Erdogan after a decade of hostility. After a decade of hostility, of calling each other names and fighting and each side blaming the other side with lots of stuff. President Putin is trying to be the man who leads this process. Because he wants to have good ties with both of them, and he wants to be very involved with the reconciliation process. They spoke about things to do with Syria, things to do with Lebanon, things to do with Gaza. However, they also spoke about things to do with Turkey and the reconciliation. When it comes to Lebanon, Syria is a massive player and plays a big part in transferring Russian goods to Lebanon. So they have to be exactly on the same page when it comes to all of this. And I think we're potentially going to see this reconciliation process happening between Turkey and Syria. And it's potentially going to happen very quickly. It looks like it's going to happen pretty quickly. Jennifer Ann is asking about the comments. Many comments would be moderated by YouTube, and there are certain words that most comments will not pass. Like sometimes I would notice that certain comments would be submitted by people and they would not be published. Now, this could be due to the users, the terminology that they use, how they post them. They could be reported or what have you. That's why I always advise people to use, good decent terminology and not use any offensive words, obviously, in comments, to avoid anything being filtered by YouTube. Let's see if we have anything else. Yeah, Jennifer saying I was talking about the numbers 40 and 6 million. Let's see if this comment stays up. See, that's the thing. So certain that they get filtered automatically. Sometimes you'll use certain terminology, and it could be to do with numbers, and it could be non-offensive, non-hostile, non-discriminatory, and I'm against all of those types of comments. Discrimination, language, racist comments. I don't like that personally. However, there are certain things that you will see getting blocked, and in many cases, I wouldn't even know about it. And there are certain things that if I personally post, I'll see them disappear as well. Okay, I think that was it from Jennifer. We'll wrap it up there then, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again. John Doe, thank you so much. I have John Doe popped up. Thank you so much. He said, Salam, brother. This is from my daughter's daughter, Elena, and from my son's daughter, Insaf, in support of your work. Oh, that's so cute. Thank you so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and them, my dear friend, and provide you with a long, healthy, and blessed life, and keep your little angels. Thank you so much for that, my friend. We have a couple of more questions. Gullyberg, apparently a US base in Iraq was hit tonight. Really? Oh, okay. Yeah. From Arab News. 4 rockets hit Iraq's airbase housing US-led coalition forces. The attack came 2 days after a military summit in Washington, where Iraqi and US officials discussed winding down the coalition's work. US-led coalition forces came to Iraq a decade ago. Okay. 4 Katyusha rockets were launched at Iraq's Ain al-Assad airbase that houses US-led coalition forces late Thursday, Two security sources said, with no immediate confirmation of any casualties or damage. The source said 2 rockets hit inside the base and 2 struck its perimeter. A coalition spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The attack came 2 days after the summit. Okay. Interesting. Well, I heard that only from one website based in Pakistan, site called Arab News in Pakistan. Interesting. I mean, looks like there's tensions there, and I think they try and have this language after they have certain communication. You see, because officially the government in Iraq, they deal with the US and what have you, but they have an understanding with the popular mobilization forces. You have so many armed groups in Iraq, and they sometimes use them as leverage when they're talking with the US administration. And thank you for bringing that to my attention, Gulliberg. Looks like it is true, but we haven't had any responses from the US side or the resistance in Iraq. That was from Gulliberg. Okay, we were in John Doe. Again, thank you for your super, my friend. Then we have Gulliberg, band in Germany. Swatros, thank you so much, my friend. Ari Magoo, hi Mahmoud, not sure if you've discussed this before. Houthis and Hezbollah, very similar tactics. Well, there are similarities, but there are big differences too. And that boils down to many things. Number one, the geography of Lebanon, how close it is to Israel, the history of Hezbollah, how long they've been around, them fighting in that mountainous terrain, and their advanced technology. Ansarullah, you're talking about more open spaces very far from Israel, next to the ocean. That's why you will see them attacking the ships that are linked to Israel, because that's their strong position. When it comes to Hezbollah, it's easier for them to launch missiles and what have you. But in both cases, we've seen a strong similarity when it comes to the use of drones. Drones clearly are becoming the thing in the war. It's the thing in Ukraine and Russia. It's the thing with the resistance movements. And although Israel has the most supposedly advanced UAVs and largest and most capable, they're ineffective when it comes to the resistance. And that's primarily because they are very small, lightweight, cheap to produce, mimic, and mass produce. Iran reportedly has millions of them. And they can fly at a very low altitude and avoid any detection. That's why we have a very high success rate. Israel still doesn't have an answer for that. Israel still doesn't have an answer for that. They try to have an answer to everything that flies at a short range or lower altitude in the form of the Iron Dome. Iron Dome is supposed to be for short range and lower altitude missiles. However, the Iron Dome is failing miserably. The Iron Dome failed miserably with missiles too. Because don't forget, you will see certain scenes published that the Iron Dome is targeting missiles, exploding them in the air. Okay, beautiful. What you would need to ask is, how many missiles were launched? How many were detected? Right? And how many landed? How many landed? Now what you see is Hezbollah are finding ways, and Yemen as well, to have a counter to anything to do with the Iron Dome, in the form of the drones, the missiles, how they shut down the radars, how they attack the batteries, they attack the radars as well. All of these things are making a big difference, and Israel still doesn't have an answer. they're talking about this laser thing, laser defense system. But there's lots of vulnerabilities, and when you deal with anything to do with low altitude, you can face a lot of problems. Well, you have towers, you have buildings that are higher than where the drone flies. So the drone is flying at an altitude that is lower than buildings. Well, if you're going to deploy something like that, you're at risk of hitting your own people. And they already hit their own people with Iron Dome many times. These are the similarities, but the big difference is what they're dictated by geographically. What they're dictated by geographically, and they are both using what they can very efficiently and very successfully with Israel. And that was from Ari Magoo. Kate Mahmoud will be leading the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Well, you might have something temporary if we reach a ceasefire. A temporary that all parties say will lead to an election. Now, we're not reaching the temporary stage yet. We're not reaching the temporary stage yet because Israel is still refusing any sort of ceasefire. We had Hamas accepting a ceasefire and Israel refusing. So you're talking about an impossible situation. If we do have a ceasefire and a slight de-escalation, and we have this unity government or something that would lead to elections, all beautiful in theory, but it has to be implemented on the ground. What does that mean, having elections on the ground? It means Israel mustn't be anywhere near Gaza and the West. It shouldn't be there. Simple. Now they're refusing to leave Gaza, and they have so many settlements in the West Bank. It's like out of the question for them to withdraw from the West Bank. 800,000-900,000 settlers that increased during the period of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. They enabled that expansion. They were only criticizing with their mouths. But apart from that, they did nothing. And they targeted everyone who tried to do anything against this expansion. So to me, it doesn't seem like it's a realistic option, even having this temporary deal, because there's a consensus in Israel on refusing a Palestinian state. Left and right, no to a Palestinian state. We just had a law passing in the Knesset preventing the establishment of a Palestinian state, banning the establishment of a Palestinian state. It was like a majority of 68-9, if I'm not mistaken. That's a massive gap. That's a big gap. So the opposition that has any chance against Netanyahu is still having the same argument. No to a Palestinian state. No to a Palestinian state. That's why, in my opinion, we will either have an ongoing escalation that can just explode altogether and there will be a lot of destruction, and then we will find a solution, or a slight de-escalation only to quieten things down temporarily. It will be very short-lived up until we see the next round. And that was from Kate. And then we will be talking about everything. We will be talking about the river to the sea and what kind of system will we have there. Will we have a system of supremacy, of oppression, of authoritarianism, religious compulsion, an ethnocracy, or will we have a democracy with equal rights, with people being treated fairly and equally by the law and by the system, what will we have? And the absurd thing is that the people who push for the two-state solution are pushing for keeping Israel, even if it's at a 1967 border, an apartheid, supremacist Jewish supremacy. They want to keep it like that. Violent and genocidal and psychopathic and Zionist to the core. So they're fine with keeping it like that. But the Palestinians, they'll have 20 million conditions on them. No arms, everything has to be in Israeli control. You're not allowed to breathe unless we tell you so. No water unless we pour it in your cup. Right? Do you like my new cup, guys? Go ahead and grab yours from the store. T-shirts as well. Paul Ambrose, Mahmoud, why doesn't Ansarullah control of Yemen? Don't all Yemeni want Ansarullah? No. It's because Yemen is split. Yemen is split. There is a government. There is a government that is internationally recognized and supported by Saudi Arabia, and obviously some Yemenis support them too. And there's the Ansarullah. And yes, some Yemenis don't support them. And some Yemenis, they have the same approach that some Palestinians have. But some Palestinians have. Some Palestinians were blaming Hamas for the genocide. Likewise, the opposition in Yemen, they will tell you the Houthis are not doing anything to Israel. They're not affecting Israel whatsoever. You're achieving nothing. It's all a show. It's all theater. What a theater. What a theater, I'm telling you, and what actors. So that's why, to me, I never see it as a thing of nationality or something that only belongs to the Palestinian people. Because there are people outside and non-Palestinian who are way more honorable than the Palestinians who take such despicable positions against their own cause. And that's not just from Yemen, that's from all across the world. That's from every person in America or Europe or Africa or South or Latin America, anywhere in the world, Asia, who is standing up. He or she are better than Palestinians in power in certain locations, and more honorable. El Karaki, thank you so much for your super, my brother. Thank you so much for your super. I love my brother. He said, hope you're well. Thank you, God. I would love to see you on this, inshallah, my brother, hopefully. When I have time. That's the thing. when and if I have time. Thank you so much for your super, my friend. And that was the last one with Al-Karaki. Wrap it up there, guys. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Like I said, I posted a previous video as well. I might have another one soon. I wanted to have a comment on a couple of things in the US with a short video. Thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. Many thanks to everyone who sent supers, much appreciated. Ray Husseini, El Karaki, and John Doe, thank you so much for your generosity as well. Much appreciate to all of you. Apart from that, everyone will hopefully be with you tomorrow night. Stay blessed. Have a lovely weekend/weekend ahead. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, or evening, afternoon, depending on where you are. And I will see you soon in the next video. Take care, everyone. Peace.